There are lots of videos online showing how bad life in Britain is. I personally have seen dozens of TikToks and YouTube videos in which people from the UK are stating that they want to immigrate from this country, saying that the life in the USA or other European countries is much better. I myself was born and am currently living in a small northern European country called Latvia. However, for about a year and a half of my life I lived in the UK while studying in high school. By the way, I have video about that on my channel, so make sure to check it out. So despite the UK not being my home country, this is a place which is not foreign to me, since I live there and have lots of friends and relatives who are currently living there. That is why I am often reading the British news and am tracking what's going on in the country. Therefore, when seeing so much negativity about the UK online, I decided that I had to visit it one more time to understand whether or not everything is as bad as social media tends to say. I think I have the advantage of an unbiased opinion, since I actually come from another not so economically successful country and I know what life can look like for those not fortunate enough to be born in an economic superpower. I will be honest, I was pretty surprised to see all of this content online humiliating the UK and saying that the life there is just awful. That's why I went on a trip to Great Britain this summer, visiting the Scottish city of Glasgow and English city of London. That is why let's talk about whether or not UK is actually falling apart from a perspective of a foreigner. The most important factor by which people judge the economic situation in the country is the prices. So when going to the UK, I was prepared to see unbelievably high grocery prices and spend my weekly salary on 2 meals in a restaurant. However, a pleasant surprise awaited me in Britain. The prices in regular stores like Tesco, Sainsbury's and Marks & Spencer have been very similar to the prices in my home country Latvia, where the average salary is at least 2 times half as much as the average salary in the UK, which is pretty crazy. I didn't see any grocery prices that would shock me, and the pricing of everything was pretty reasonable. As to the restaurants, it of course depends on the restaurant, but on average restaurant prices in Glasgow were a little bit lower than restaurant prices in my home country Latvia. For example, while in the city center of Glasgow, me and my wife went to an Italian restaurant Antipasti, where we each ate a pizza, a soup and a drink, and for all of that I paid about £30. For comparison, in Latvia I would have paid something like £40 to £45 for the same meal. I unfortunately cannot provide you with a good comparison of real estate prices, since I haven't rented an apartment in the UK, yet when looking at rent prices in London and Glasgow, I of course can say that those are pretty high. However, when compared to the British salaries, those are not as insane. The funny thing is that the average utility costs in the UK is about £142 per month on average for 1-2 people. Just for the sake of comparison, in Latvia I pay for the utilities about €300 in winter and about €200 in summer, and all of that is for a small 1-bedroom apartment. So when talking about the prices, it can be said that everything is not as bad as you might think it is after watching negative YouTube videos, especially when compared to not so successful countries. One more thing which is receiving lots of criticism in the UK are the cost of transportation. I didn't notice that personally, since the prices of the train from Glasgow to London was about €90 per person, and I happily paid for it. I have to agree that this is not a cheap price, yet this is a 500-kilometer journey, so the price is not that excessive. Therefore, concluding the topic of prices in Britain, I have to say that those are not low by any means. Yet I also cannot say that those are astronomically high, and considering British salaries, those prices are pretty reasonable. So the devil is not as black as he is painted. We do not appreciate what we have. I made sure of that when visiting the UK. There are so many Brits saying that they are not proud of their culture, saying that their country is miserable and not interesting, and neither is nice or cozy, and in general is going to Yet, I assure you that they are wrong. There are so many things which are boring and everydayish for an average British person, but are actually amazing for me as a foreigner, so let's talk about those. First of all, natural landscape. In order to see it, you will have to go out of your town or city, yet it's clearly worth it. The landscapes and natural beauty of Scotland are just marvelous. For me as a person who doesn't like the heat and sun, national parks of the UK have become one of the most memorable things from my journey. Huge green hills, trees everywhere, everywhere, nice jogging paths, cold and clean air, and much more. When living in Glasgow, all of that is within the reach of 30-minute car ride. You might say that it's only the case for Scotland, however I have to disagree with you, since by just researching the Google Maps of England and Wales, I also see lots of beautiful national parks, as well as presume that there are lots of possible ways to reach the coastline, which is also pretty amazing. For example, by taking a few-hour car drive from central London, you can reach the Seven Sister Cliffs and many other natural attractions. How cool is that? I think that it's pretty amazing. However, the locals seem not to appreciate it, which is pretty unfortunate. As to the museums, I actually was prepared to pay like £40 per museum visit, but a pleasant surprise awaited me. All of the museums both in Scotland and England were free. I know what fellow Brits will probably say, that those are free since they pay for those with their taxes. Well, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but the fact remains, those are free. Therefore, anyone can visit and see the historical treasures, from painting of Van Gogh to different types of old and preserved artifacts. And despite the fact that most famous museums are located in London, there are plenty of those in other cities too. It was a pleasure for me to see that there were plenty of school groups in the museums. Students were running around and exploring things. This might seem very normal to British people, however to me it was a pleasure to see so many people enjoying the cultural heritage. This brings us to another topic, architecture. The red brick housing is very usual for those who live in the UK, and you most probably don't find it to be amazing. Yet I was born and raised in houses like this, where the predominant color is grey. So I would say that you guys do not appreciate how cozy your cities and towns look. Besides the houses, there are pleasing churches everywhere you go. I'm not even gonna talk about all of the skyscrapers and beautiful historical buildings which can be found in big cities. Moreover, British towns have a great environment for walking. Huge parks are everywhere. Let me tell you that it was one of the most memorable things for me when visiting Glasgow and London. Huge green parks. In some places there I felt that I was somewhere in the forest, but not in the center of a big city. All of the parks have been very well maintained and it was a pleasure to be there. Moreover, there are so many freaking animals in the park. There are squirrels which will literally eat anything from your hands, freaking parrots in the parks of London, and of course some rats, which is not cool but still some wildlife. Jokes aside, I think that big and small cities in the UK are pretty well maintained and very suitable for living. Yes, I have seen some homeless people pretty much living on the roads, yes, there is some trash on some streets, and yes, some of the streets could have been cleaner. But in general, the cities are pretty walkable and infrastructure is good. There is this feeling that the city is alive, that there are many people, all of whom are doing something, running somewhere, and I think that this is a very great thing which lots of people take for granted. It might not be as obvious for those of you living there, but the UK is the land of opportunities, since there are almost 67 million people living in your country. On the one hand, it of course creates competition for you when trying to get a good place at a good university or when buying a house. However, in general, it's a great thing, since people are the most important asset and driver of progress. Let me give you an example. Say you open some sort of standard business, producing some sort of product, let's say the chair factory. In my home country Latvia, you will have only 1.8 million potential buyers, while in the UK you have 67 million potential buyers. Do you feel the difference? Another unique thing about the UK and its population is that it is relatively wealthy. I'm not saying that everyone is rich in the UK, yet when compared to most other countries, the purchasing power of Brits is very high. In addition to that, the UK has world best universities, lots of huge corporations which employ tens of thousands of people, renowned brands and many other things from which you can economically profit and benefit by either studying, working or opening your business. The biggest problem of the UK is that its population is used to living in a first world country, which is, if not the best, then one of the best places on earth to live in. The population is used to great economic situations, relatively good medicine and great opportunities. However, now, when all of the world is going through yet another crisis, the UK started to lose its positions of being the world first power, and the Brits are starting to face the challenges and problems that they didn't know existed. I think that this, of course, might be painful, and I am by no means saying that the UK is the ideal country with no problems. The UK has its problems. The housing prices are high, the immigration crisis seems to be in place, and the economy is not as booming as it used to be. But believe me, most of the other world countries have been facing similar problems and crises for years and even centuries. Therefore, currently, there is a transition period for Brits, yet this is absolutely normal. Yes, there are countries which are better off economically right now, such as the US, Switzerland or Australia, but when compared to the rest of the world, the UK is still far better off than other countries. And considering the history of the UK and its current economic power, I do not think that UK is going to sink and become the third world country. This is not going to happen, since the country is very independent, has a huge population and economic power, and I am more than sure that in some time the situation will start to improve and the current problems in the UK will be solved. Whether to listen to me or not is of course up to you. At the end of the day, I am just a random guy on YouTube, but I want to say that Brits have things to be proud of, and that your country, guys, despite having some problems, is pretty amazing and is one of the world's most developed nations. Hopefully this video will help some of you to be a little bit more proud of your country. Thank you for watching, don't forget to join my Discord server in order to discuss any video from my channel with me, and of course don't forget to press like button and subscribe to my channel, it really helps me, so I would actually appreciate it, and I will see you very soon. Bye.